Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between MYM DeMuslim spawning as the purple Terran over here at the 8 o'clock position. Meanwhile, we have Lucifron spawning as the yellow Protoss over here at the 2 o'clock position here on Metalopolis. Lucifron, really not sure whether or not these players chose to go random or if they're just switching between Terran and Protoss. The first game it was a Terran mirror match, the second game it was a Protoss mirror match. The third game, it is now a Terran versus Protoss. So we'll see how this game works out and whether or not anything really changes. Lucifron dropping down that pylon, now moving out, doing some early scouting. Meanwhile, DeMuslim now putting down an early supply depot, a 10 supply. So more of an economic build as I have stated earlier. So it's going to be an economic build for DeMuslim. Lucifron, will see if he continues to chrono boost that Nexus. Yeah, and now chrono boosting that Nexus, indicating that it is going to be more of an economic build from Lucifron. So both of those players playing a little bit more towards that end game ability, but will try to change things up if need be. Lucifron now moving out with this probe will quickly find DeMuslim spawning in the 8 o'clock position. So 8 o'clock position will be found out, may be able to harass that SCV. By harassing that SCV, it really delays the production of that one barracks. So now in comes this probe. The probe now fighting back against this SCV. Unless the Lucifron pulls back, the Lucifron will lose that probe. Now another SCV coming off the line in order to fight back against that probe. Probe able to regenerate those shields as it just flutters away from that SCV. Now back up to full hit points already. So the recharge time on those shields just so strong. Now already upgrading to an orbital command. So a 16 food upgrading to an orbital command, also producing a single marine. Gateway now down, assimilator gathering gas. We should see a cybernetics core in a moment being placed down. There it is. So Lucifron going for a single gateway into a cybernetics core, which is a pretty standard opening for Protoss. Protoss really wants to get that cybernetics core just in case there is any sort of harassment coming in from Reapers. Really needs to get that early stalker just in case. Lucifron, however, knows that there will not be any early Reapers as there was not enough gas and he did not see a tech lab on that barracks just quite yet. DeMuslim also getting a bunker over here on this front door. So a bunker on the front door will enable DeMuslim to hold that high ground a little bit more easily. Zealot now out, may be able to chase down that SCV. However, SCV taking one round of attack, pulling around, trying to get as much getting as much information as he can in this base. He sees that the double gas is down, so the double gas could either indicate loud horn scaring me. Could either indicate that it is going to be a robotics facility or a 4-gate with a lot of sentries and stalkers. He really, DeMuslim will really need to come back into this fight to figure out what exactly the strategy is in order to be able to properly counter it. Probe now moving out as well. Probe perhaps doing a little bit of scouting. Gonna go ahead and well, for some reason zigzagging around that light post there, or that's not a light post. That is a light post with a working stop signal light. So yeah, interesting there. Probe now moving around to that north side, making sure that there is no sort of hidden expansion outside of that natural location. And Lucifron putting down a proxy pylon in order to get that warp gate. So yeah, Lucifron already going for a 4-gate. Going for an all-in 4-gate push on to Terran. DeMuslim now just macroing up Marines with the factory down. So it might just be Marines and siege tanks. DeMuslim income and harvester wise, Lucifron sitting at 25 compared to DeMuslim's 23. 23 not too far behind, especially considering that he is mining off of that mule. So that mule able to give him a pretty strong advantage. More units continuing to be trained up. However, it looks as though Lucifron gonna save up that minerals and start and wait for that warp gate ability. So now all 4 of those gateways turning into warp gates, and then you should start seeing these units being warped in here. Probably just mass sentries at first. Oh no, mass going for stalkers and sentries. So I guess needs a little bit more of that range attack in order to be able to push up onto that front door. DeMuslim very nicely putting a siege tank here. Now a lot of players have been asking me where do you place your siege tanks as a Terran player. Now if you place them straight on the cliff, it is true you will be able to get a little bit more shots off. or you will be able to shoot a little bit further. However, a lot of the siege tanks need a spotter unit anyways, and by keeping the siege tank away from that cliff, it reduces the number of units that can actually really blast on or be able to hit onto that high ground if there is a scanner sweep or an observer in the air. I really like the Muslims' placements on these siege tanks. Now, Lucifron, knowing that he really can't break this front door, really needs to change up his strategy. Perhaps drop a robotics facility and go for warp prisms. I swear I have not seen this replay. So we have what, 5 sentries sitting down here, and a couple, 2 zealots and a stalker. I really want to see some hallucination as well. Oh, a bunker quickly getting taken down there. So, but now we have 3 siege tanks. So 3 siege tanks covering this front door. And we also have a cloaking field being researched. So a Ghost Academy is up where... No, it's not a Ghost Academy. It's at a starport. So a quick starport being built in the back of the base, and cloaking field being researched. Very nicely done. Should come off as a big surprise, as Lucifron is pressing so many units out into the main battlefield that this one Banshee may be able to get off a couple quick kills. The cloaking research, however, is still taking an additional 70 units of time. I believe that comes out to be, what is that? 70 units of time is almost a minute in order for it to be completed. Lucifron now throwing down a Nexus in order to get more of an economic advantage, now transferring some probes over as well. So Lucifron going to be mining from 16 mineral patches as opposed to just 8. The command center now lifted off into the air. Siege tanks now being pushed down here, so very nicely done. So those siege tanks, once they are moved, will have a little bit further range, and that command center will act as that high ground site. So I really like this play by DeMuslim. DeMuslim getting that command center fairly early. Where is that Banshee though? Banshee now sitting there, does not yet have cloak, so that is going to be a little bit of an issue. However, if you know that the Banshee is a light mechanical unit as opposed to a heavy mechanical unit, you will realize that those stalkers really cannot shoot it down that easily. Observer now being chrono boosted, so just at the perfect time. However, this Banshee is going to get 6, perhaps 7 or 8 kills. Now going after some of those units, and now those Banshees quickly able to spot it down, quickly shoot it down, shoot it down there. Lucifron sitting with over a dozen units over here, now trying to shoot down this command center, using the maximum range that they can. Only 3 units able to shoot in. Doesn't want to really push any additional units over there either. There is an observer in the air by Lucifron, so Lucifron knows that there are siege tanks sitting here. Perhaps should have tried to move down the siege tank. Now pulling away with those units. Those siege tanks hitting a couple blast off, and were those siege tanks able to get any real kills? Not 100% sure about that. Orbital command gonna be now being repaired by 2 SCVs. Still has an observer in the air sitting over here. Banshee now offering plenty of harassment and a straight 1-to-1 trade blow there. And now that Stalker now getting focused down as it's being warped in, so that Stalker already down to 22 hit points. One more round of attacks and that Stalker will get taken down. If that Stalker, now going after one of those gateways, not quite sure why. And now going, unable to get that last attack. It looks as though the range on that Stalker, finally another Stalker getting taken down. Stalker going after another Stalker that's warping in. Observer sitting right next to that Banshee, and one Banshee gonna be able to get down 2 Stalkers before it is shot down again. One Stalker down to 22 hit points, another Banshee being produced, a second starport with no tech lab being thrown down just quite yet. Siege tanks and Marauders now onto that low ground and trying to gather into a better position. Now in come these siege tanks, force fields being brought into play, so Lucifron in a fairly decent position. Marines unable to really reinforce, and this is looking to be a fairly bad fight for DeMuslim. DeMuslim losing a lot of these units. However, now all that is left are a couple Marauders and a couple Marines. More Stalkers being warped in from the back, and Lucifron with that observer in the air. More units still being produced. However, Lucifron sitting on a fairly decent sized army, able to continue to press out. Now we now have a Banshee in play. Banshee going after some of those Stalkers. However, there isn't a single observer there, and that observer really just ruined the day of that Banshees. Marauders trying to kite away those Zealots, and now SCVs coming off the line in order to do a little bit of engagement as well. 3 observers in the air, offering plenty of sight. In comes in these SCVs and Marines and Marauders. Scanner sweep. Are they going to go after those observers? I don't know why he scanned when there was only one single Marine in this whole entire fight. Stay tuned for part 2 of this replay between Lucifron and DeMuslim here on Metalopolis.